Hello and welcome to How the Race Was Won. Today's feature is on Gent Wevelgem, a race referred to by bad journalists and careless commentators as the Sprinters Classic. Yes, many riders frequently referred to as sprinters have won it, but they've tended to do it out of smaller groups. For example, Tom Steels in 1999 and Mario Cipollini in 2002. In fact, in the previous 10 editions of the race, only 3 have been decided in a group gallop. Besides, there already is a Sprinters Classic, Paris Tours, with no cobbles, no crap weather, no 23% grade Kemmelberg, no slice and dice descents, and no bloody miserable North Sea headwinds. Yes, you'd need to be a pretty uninformed cycling publication to call this the Sprinters Classic. It'd be like calling 58mm rims deep dish, when dish, as applied to bike wheels, actually refers to the offset between the flanges of a hub and the position of the rim. Anyway, as history would suggest, this year's Gent Wevelgem was not a sprint, something that was decided very early on as an iceberg-sized group broke free of the field, without favorites Tom Boonen or Mark Cavendish. That's not to say they didn't compete. Watch the gamesmanship as they lead the second group over the Kemmelberg. They just weren't competing for the win. As is generally the case at Wevelgem, the real action started on the first descent of the Kemmelberg, where 2007 winner Marcus Berghardt pushed the tempo, turning the Cervelo test team from a 6-rider force into a 1-man whimper. A train of 4 riders whipped ragged with 62k to go can't be good exposure for the sponsors. While there was some regrouping after the first descent, including a powerful bridge and textbook aero descent from Robbie McEwen, the stronger riders in the break sensed the opportunity and never stopped attacking. Alexander Kuczynski was one of the first to jump and eventually was the first to get away, opening up a 20-second gap before the second ascent of the Kemmelberg. The Liquigas rider looked weak on the opening pitches, but pulled it together to maintain his gap through the top of the climb. It may have been the battle behind Kuczynski that eventually decided the race. Matt Goss, arguably the second most active rider on the day, led the charge up the climb, but was closely marked by Kuczynski's teammate Manuel Cinziado. It was a solid tactical decision, but the Italian may have been a bit too attentive in his marking, as High Road's Edvald Bosenhagen slipped around the duo on the climb's penultimate pitch and broke clear over the top. Kuczynski appeared to slow up just a touch, and then he and Bosenhagen worked flawlessly together, drawing out their lead to over a minute. Behind there was chaos and dissension, even about what sides of the roundabout to take. Sure, the conditions, the large size of the group, and the occasional dog attack didn't help, but when Euskaltel riders start launching attacks in Belgium, you know something's amiss. Matt Goss did finally get away, with Andreas Clear and fellow Aussie Matty Heyman, but by that point the fat lady had sung on the podium's top 2 steps. Coming into the line, Kuczynski tried to slow up the pace as much as possible on the faster Bosenhagen, and the Norwegian almost played into the Belarusian's hands, launching the sprint from what looked like a much further out distance than he intended. Kuczynski slowly reeled the high road rider's early jump back in, but with shades of Bernard Hinault's "I'm going, come and get it" sprint style, Bosenhagen refused to fade, and Kuczynski just couldn't get around. Behind, Andreas Clear repeated Bosenhagen's too early jump, with far worse results. You'd think, as the 03 winner, he would have had a better recollection of the finishing straight. As it played out, the ever-active Goss took the sprint for third. Quite an achievement, considering he spent the second half of the race looking over his shoulder, checking gaps, and telling people to pull through. High Road easily came out of this race looking the best. They took the win with a fairly minimal effort, just Berghardt splitting the field the first time over the Kemmelberg, Bosenhagen bridging over the second, and Hincapie covering attacks behind. While it'd be easy to find fault with Quick-Step's performance for missing the break entirely, the dominant Classics team of this season essentially got the day off. It might look crummy on the results sheet, but for anyone not wearing a Quick-Step jersey at Roubaix this Sunday, it's a scary thought. I'm Cosmo Catalano, and that's how the race was won.